All right, thanks for tuning in. This is mountainrunning.com training section. A lot of really good talk and threads going on this section. Something I don't see a lot of chatter about in general, not just on this site, but is doing really big weeks or camps, some people are calling them, in an area that inspires you. And so I wanted to chime in on doing training camps or epic weeks in an area that you've just wanted to explore for a long time and it speaks to you. And so the best way to do that probably would be to talk about the last 8 days of what I've been up to, and then more importantly, what effect that's going to have on my training. So I'm from Seattle. I can see snow out my door. I live in the foothills of the Cascades. We can get out year round, but it takes a little bit of effort. Once you're out, you're psyched, you get stuff done. But I think for most folks that live somewhere where daylight or weather is a key limiter, going somewhere where it's going to be either really dramatic weather to what you're used to. So even if you're from California and it's 70 degrees every day, or if you're from the Northwest or somewhere else, Montana or wherever it is, that snowline kind of pushes you down onto your local trails and you're not really getting the vert that you need for your event, or you're not really simulating what you want to be training, going to somewhere with polar opposite both terrain and weather, I think put yourself in a pretty good position to force your body to adapt. And I think that's ultimately what training is all about. You put yourself in a position to where you've got to figure out what you're capable of and what you can absorb day to day. And so that kind of ties in with the multiple day training camp. So I think a day, a camp, a block of time can last anywhere from 5 days to 8 days. I've done some cycle touring, human powered stuff that it lasts up to 3 months, and the objective ultimately is to explore a new spot. It's not to be uber structured. It's to go and experience an area via your sport, because the sport makes you happy, endorphins make you happy, and a little bit of a sense of adventure never hurts. So you go and you check out a new spot that you've heard about, and you combine that with your sport. And ultimately, what happens is your volume goes through the roof. 100%. Let's disregard intensity. Let's disregard structure. I'm just talking about going to a new area, and I get off the plane, and I'm coming from possum mode in Seattle, not much daylight, pretty wet weather, and then I get off the plane, I'm on the tarmac, and I'm in a t-shirt, it's dry, I can see the ocean, I can see foothills that are about 5,000 feet, and it's separated trees like what's going on behind me, and that's really opposite of where I'm coming from. And so what happens is, for me, I'm like a kid in a candy store, right? I go to the hostel, I lock up my stuff, and I'm just, Sportiva's on, and I'm on the trail, and I'm exploring for the next 5, 10, 15 days, whatever it is. And before you go, if you're excited to go to an area, you have a little bit of a tick list. But aside from that, I definitely would recommend writing down what you're doing and how you're feeling, only so that you can look back on that and you can be like, more or less what's likely to happen is you're going to arrive at a camp or a location, and you're going to have several things that you'd like to see or that you'd like to do, objectives, high peaks or beach runs or long trails, out and backs, whatever it is. You're going to have those as a bucket list, and then you're going to have this block of time, and I definitely, for me, I take off my watch, and I pretty much wake up with the sun, or whenever I feel like waking up, and I take a look at that list, or I just hear about something from local knowledge, and I go. And at the end of the day, you look back, and you're out on your feet all day doing your sport. And so again, what happens is your volume goes through the roof. And those, if we're doing a Sunday to Sunday, in those first 3 to 4 days, you're so psyched, you're so inspired that there actually is sun in the sky, or there actually is smooth buttery trails instead of sharp rocky rooty trails that you're used to. You're just inspired, and so you're getting out a lot more often, and you're putting a lot more miles in, and so as a result of all that volume, you're looking at a 3 to 4 day period at the front end of the week, and that's pretty much what you typically would do in 1 or maybe even 2 weeks, depending on where you're at in your season. And so in that way, again, volume goes through the roof. One thing that I like to do, for San Luis Obispo is I'm definitely looking at access. For me, I bike and I swim in addition to a lot of trail running, and so when I'm looking for a place, I'm looking for a priority. It's got to be cheap. I don't have a lot of disposable income, so you're looking for a place that has a hostel or Airbnb or warmshowers.org or couchsurfer.com, or some way that you can communicate with somebody else that understands an endurance lifestyle, and they're gonna get it, that you're not gonna be hanging out in the house all day. You're just gonna be out playing outside all day and come home, cook, go to bed type of deal. And so places that I found in the States that are very accommodating to that, with cheap food if you want to go out to eat, and they focus on having good access to vegetables and what have you. Tucson's a great hub. Phoenix is pretty good. San Diego is fantastic. And this is the first block of training I've done in San Luis Obispo, and it's also fantastic. So the theme in those is they've all got hostels. They all are more or less university towns or close to university. So if you want to go out to eat, not very pretentious, not very hoity-toity, prices are going to be reasonable, and the scene is really laid back and mellow and entertaining, when you're a vegetable after a full day of having fun. So that's key. Another thing with San Luis Obispo is its proximity to varied terrain. In the Cascades, we've got pretty spiky climbs. We've got a good variety of stuff going on, but we don't necessarily have really buttery terrain where I can see where I'm going. I can see a natural half pipe that's a 7 mile down, and then a big long flat, and then a 10-mile climb. And it's not very technical, but it's definitely going to be fast. One of the reasons that for me that I chose San Luis Obispo is that I'm not used to running on that type of terrain. And so when you choose a camp, I think it's important to go to a place where you think about, you're like, wow, what would it be like to run somewhere where there's not a lot of rocks, or there's not a lot of roots, or the climbs are crazy steep, or the climbs are really, really long and the descents are not very technical and you just roll them. As an athlete, with respect to training, I think the more varied terrain that you're going to get on, the stronger you're going to become. So, running in as many places as possible, and pushing yourself in those places, it really, it sets a governor for that race setting. Just in general, when you do a 9-day block of training, especially on terrain that you're not accustomed to, you really, in a race, you only have so many cards. And so again, this is kind of targeting people that are, we're stagnant. We've been doing the same thing for a little while, and we'd like to mix it up or get reinvigorated, or get through another plateau. And I think after a while, most folks, we just kind of keep doing the same thing over and over. And so, again, a great way to mix it up is to go somewhere totally new that's going to break you down to size, and it's going to be, everything is different. The weather is different. The terrain is different. And so you're really going to find pacing and what you're capable of a lot quicker in a really honest manner. On the note of racing and how it contributes to your training ultimately towards either a big objective or towards a race, we only have so many cards. We're either like really strong at something, or we know that we're weak at it. But at the end of the day, if you go somewhere where a lot of those variables are really different, and you can't control a lot of it, and you're just, you're doing your best day after day, an 8-day block or a 5-day block or a 4-day block, you wake up in the morning and, you don't feel so good, but you're going to do a huge day because, you want to go see that pillar, or you want to go see that waterfall, or whatever it is. I think what ultimately ends up happening is that you feel like crap a lot, and you feel like working, you learn how to work through it. And so with these big epic weeks, these big blocks of training, my hope for you would be to structure the week in a way so that you're not going out too hard too early in the week, But by the end of the week, you've gone through so many phases of, gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. But you've also been able to overcome that because you have some sense of actually how you're feeling. I think oftentimes in racing, people call it confidence, but it's not confidence. It's more you've put in the time, you've put in the effort, and so when it's a good time for you to push beyond your comfort zone, or when you better ratchet it down because honestly you've put in the time and effort, and that if you go at this pace, you're gonna explode, you're gonna blow your load, so you might as well back it off. I think training camps in a big sequence of days, we're talking 8 days of high volume, and that's relative to different athletes, but trying to see new places and go and check new things out, but then also having a little bit of structure so that at the end of the week you've got some bigger days. So in the beginning of my week, for me, I started this week with a race. It was an Olympic distance triathlon, and then I had quite a few long rides followed by long runs, and then later in the week I linked up with some other people that were going to do their long runs for the week. So you can definitely get creative and bring in new inspiration, and people, if it's solitary, bring in other folks that are either fresh or they're also focusing on that long day for that week, or they want to go check out this area or whatever it is. But I think structuring the week so that early in the week you're excited, you're going to have a lot of motivation, you're in this new spot, you're going to want to go explore, but then later in the week you've got some objectives. You have a goal of doing whatever it is, a 30-mile run and then 150 bike the next day, or whatever it is. You've got some bigger objectives on that Thursday and Friday, or the Friday and Saturday before you fly out on Sunday, that are going to keep you on good behavior through the week. So you're pacing yourself, but you're also going to be so excited that you're doing big stuff, if that makes sense. I think that's really crucial, because when you look back on that 2 to 3 day block later in the week, in a normal setting, you would never combine that type of volume in such a short period of time. But, a big epic week like this, you're going to do this once or twice a year, and they're fit for people, I think, that are able to absorb it, but also listen to how they're feeling every morning. And so by the time you get to that block at the end of the week, you're so excited and you've done so much that week, you're able to kind of have a central governor on how hard you're going to go on these last couple sessions. But the point is, when we combine all this stuff, at the end of the week, our volume is huge. And I believe in intensity. I believe in putting in power efforts and doing intervals and hitting the track and all sorts of stuff. But when we look at this massive amount of volume, what happens through the course of this, however long your period of training in this awesome place is, you're broken down to size. You're reestablishing why you're doing it. It's fun. It's supposed to be fun. You're trying to explore and have a good time. And then also, you know what it feels like to suffer, but then you also know how to work through it and be like, well, I better ratchet it down. I got to do this again in the morning. So again, for long races, I think doing big blocks of training in places that are going to inspire you to do more than you normally would, they're invaluable. I mean, it's definitely a must-do. I'd love to help folks out if you have any questions on how to line up cheap accommodation and target certain locations. I've done some blocks in South America and Asia, and then definitely some in the States here, and hopefully you're inspired to go get stronger and explore a new spot. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Andrew Fast. Bye.